Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually going to go over the entire ADU presentation that I go over with my clients. I figured this would be super helpful for anyone who's interested in buying or building ADUs, whether you're an investor, a realtor, it doesn't matter. It could even be someone else in the ADU industry. This will give you a great framework on what the cost to build would be, the time frame, the different usage, the different types of ADUs. It's just going to give you a great basic overview of what to expect before you dive into your ADU journey. So let's get started. I am Stephanie, your ADU strategist. I'm an ADU consultant, investor. I have a podcast on all things ADU, which is here on my YouTube channel as well. I'm sure you guys have seen it. So don't forget to subscribe and like so that you stay notified and updated with all of the new stuff that I have coming up. I also do events. So I'm an event host. I'm a realtor. I've been doing real estate for over 10 years. I have a team as well. And what we focus on is helping clients with acquisitions, build out, and management. So we'll help you buy property. We'll help you build it with the strategy of ADUs and also help you manage it. So let's get going. Today we're going to cover a lot of cool stuff. All right, so I haven't done this in a while, especially here on YouTube. Just wanted to give everyone a quick basic rundown of what an ADU is, right? So let's talk about that. What are ADUs? ADUs are self-contained living spaces with their own entrance, kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping facilities. They are designed to be separate and independent from the main home. However, they're still within that same lot size. ADUs can be either attached or detached to, attached to a primary or detached. A lot of them are garage conversions in places like LA. So I just wanted to start with that, right? It's like, what is the definition of an ADU? What is the different types? As you guys can see here in these images, there's different types of ADUs, and ADUs can range between 150 square feet to 1,200 square feet. You've got attached ADUs, detached, you've got basements, you have attics. It really just depends, right? Different markets favor different types. For example, here in LA, a lot of them are garage conversions. A lot of them are, I'll talk about the usage of it, and why they're being built. But this will really help you understand the different types that there are, and obviously, depending on what market you're in, there's going to be some that are going to be a lot more popular than others. This graph really just highlights. I like to talk about why ADUs really help us with the housing and affordability issues. I believe that building more ADUs is really going to help us come up with more units. I mean, we are behind in the amount of homes that we need. And that's something that is a problem nationwide, not just here in California. But I believe ADUs would really help not only create more inventory, but it also makes it a lot more affordable, which I'll get into as well. Here's a couple pictures of what ADUs typically look like. This is a smaller unit that was built for, I believe, the grandmother, so for elder family members. And this is what the finishes look like. So just wanted to give you guys a visual of what it looks like, what's the definition, what does it look like, and here's another one. This one was 1,000 square foot ADU in Whittier. It was also for an aging family member. And this is what the unit looks like inside. 1,000 square feet is a pretty big ADU. Most ADUs, I would say, in Southern California are between 400 to 600 square feet. This one's on, the larger side. But it's great. I mean, that was in the backyard of someone's house. And now, it'll be the mother-in-law's house. One thing that I like about ADUs is that they offer a lot of flexibility. A lot of people think that you're just building them for rental purposes, which is obviously like one of the number one ways, right? Especially for investors, is creating additional income, offsetting your expenses from, the rental amount that you're getting. But I would say the top two, as I mentioned, is aging family members and cash flow. So those are, but there's so many other ways and reasons why you would want to build an ADU. People have built music studios. People have done office space. Right now, with so many people working from home, it really allows you to be flexible. You can have it be an office space right now, and maybe you can rent it out to midterm, or long-term tenants later down the line. So it serves different usages depending on your lifestyle and where you're at in your life. I've seen people do pickleball courts, yoga studios, workout rooms, wellness centers. It's a big thing right now, right? It's a huge topic, at least for me, because I'm in the wellness world right now. I'm really trying to better myself in every aspect of my life, but really focusing on health this year. Started running and eating healthy and all that good stuff. So that could be a great flex space for that. Art space, it can be a great guest house, pool house. It can be entertainment. I've seen some high end ADUs being built for some of these reasons. So I just wanted to highlight that it's not just to rent the ADU. It could be that that's going to be the long-term exit strategy, but right now it can really offer a lot of flexibility. What are some of the benefits of building ADUs? As I mentioned, affordability and housing. It solves both of those issues. It creates a lot of flexibility. But just to name a couple others, is ADUs can provide source of income for homeowners. I'll talk about rents. ADUs allow for extended family members. So a lot of what I just mentioned, but really giving you that detailed version of, ADUs give the homeowners an increased property value. That's another big one too. ADUs increase the housing supply and affordability issue, which I talked about. Owners can now build up to 2 units, so you can turn your single family home into a triplex. And I have a case study for that. In 2020, there was, this whole ADU movement started in 2016, 2017, but in 2020 things really took off. 2023, more legislation was updated, which I'll talk about that as well. But things to highlight is the owner no longer has to live in the property to rent it out. That was huge, because especially for my investors, right? Many times you'd want to buy a property with the intention of building, but if it required that owner occupancy, which means you need to live in the main home in order to rent it out, that eliminated a lot of investment strategies. HOAs must allow for ADUs. That was huge. Although I still recommend that if you are an investor um, who hasn't bought a property yet and you're wanting to buy something with the intention of building, if you can afford the single family home and avoid HOAs, it's a lot better. But not to say that, if that's the way you have to go because of budget or whatever the case is, you could still buy a property in an HOA. Oh, you could still buy a property in an HOA. You just have to make sure that that you understand that they have a streamlined process, because sometimes it's just an added layer, another party that you have to deal with. All right, let's see. A lot of new multifamily rules. And I'm not going to go into multifamily. I think I need to do a separate presentation for that, because that is a more 2.0 high level overview of what you can do when you want to scale this strategy. So I'll talk about that on a separate video, but I just wanted to highlight that, California is probably one of the few states that I know of, that ADUs are also allowed in multifamily or have some sort of um, strategy. Limited parking requirements. So you don't have to provide parking as long as there's transit within half a mile. Cities cannot override major state law changes. That's huge, meaning whatever state law says is what it is. And if these hyper local cities want to argue about it, you just really have to know how to navigate through that. And that's been a big hurdle, believe it or not, because the city says yes, you can go ahead and build, but that doesn't mean that these hyper local cities. The state says you can build ADUs all across the board, but these hyper local cities has taken them time to really get up to speed with the legislation, the new updated, the new rules, the HCD Handbook, the government code. And so it takes a lot of energy to sort of educate them on it, but do it in a way where you're really able to really get your point across, but then also get the plans approved and get it to the finish line. These are a few other ADU bills. And again, I'm not going to go into detail with each one. I think you could spend more time learning about legislation. As you guys can see, I dedicated 2 slides to that because it is very important to understand these new rules and regulations, and they keep adding more every single year. Some of the ones, or One of the more popular ones this year was AB 1033. So 2023, new legislation passed saying, hey, now you can sell your ADU separately from the main home. However, the key point here, oh, God. Okay. The main thing is that cities have to opt in. And right now, I believe San Jose is one of the only cities. So, what I've been doing is a lot of advocating, emailing, reaching out to planning and building and safety departments in all of the different counties, advocating for them to opt into this. Legislation so that we can also create more inventory, and it just really allows for people to have liquidity, right? If you own a property, you're going to build an ADU, now you have the opportunity to sell that off. Maybe you want to sell it off to one of your family members. Maybe you're able to subdivide it and condoize it so that you can now have different structured financing. I think that play is really going to switch it up, because I see two issues right now. Is financing. How do you finance ADUs if you don't have equity? It's kind of hard to do unless you get creative. And then the second piece to it is working with cities and streamlining the process, I think, and the evaluation piece too, actually. So three. I would say that AB 1033, if more cities opt into this, then eventually we'll be sort of like Oregon and Washington, where you can sell these off and do multiple ADUs. So you're kind of building like little small condominiums, right? And selling them off. Great play for investors, developers, anyone in general. So I think that's one to keep an eye on for the next 12 months. We still have to see what it's going to look like. But yeah, some of the other ones, like this one here, pre-approved ADU program. This bill is designed to reduce the time and cost of ADUs, which in return saves you time and money. Because when you've had, for example, us at ADU West Coast, if we have a set of plans that we've already submitted in Long Beach for a garage conversion and it's been approved, we can reuse those plans. And now it streamlines the process, and it'll take less time to get these plans approved, which saves you a lot of time and then money. One of the things that we do first when we go out to your property and do a feasibility inspection, think of it as like a home inspection, right? When you buy your property, you have to do a home inspection, make sure that, the main key components of the house are operating correctly. When we do a feasibility, we're looking at the site to see what it is that you're looking to propose, right? What are we proposing? So we're proposing to convert this garage. And then what is everything else around it looking like, as far as setbacks, measurements, sewer lines, water connection, utilities, and so power lines, septic. There's a lot of things that we have to look at when we go to the site, and this helps us dictate exactly how much the property or the ADU would cost. And this takes me to, well, at first I'll go over the case study and then I'll talk about the cost, because this is why I like to show people this, because many people think, oh, well, I'm just going to convert the garage, so it should be fairly easy and simple to do. Well, not necessarily, because every single house sits on a different lot type. Some properties have alley access that may cut the trenching here and easier to build. Sometimes you may have to come all the way out to the main line and connect directly there. Sometimes, there's easements, there's power lines, there's a few other things that can really make or break your budget. And this is why it's important to have somebody go out there, look at the property. And I would say don't have somebody go and do this yet until you've figured out how you're going to finance it, which I'll talk about as well. But it's no different than when you're going to buy your property, right? Before you go and buy your first investment or your second investment, you have to figure out what your financing options are going to look like. So what can I afford? And then you're going to buy based on that budget, right? It's no different with ADUs. You got to figure out how are you going to finance it, and then you're going to build based on that budget. So the case study that I wanted to share with you guys was this one that was across the street from Cal State Long Beach. The owner is actually my broker from TrueDoor, the company that I work with out of Huntington Beach. And what he did was, originally the property was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in the front, mid-century modern, very beautiful property. And this here, it was the detached garage, and there's a beautiful pool back there. This is also just more open space back there, but it's sort of now separate from these main units. So what he did was he converted one of the bedrooms into a junior ADU and also did an extension to that. So now the main house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, closed off that 4th bedroom, added another 200 square feet. So now this is its own unit. And this here is the actual driveway. It's a pretty long driveway. This right here is the door. So when designing the ADUs, we wanted to make sure that every single unit has like its own independent feel and privacy, right? So if you look at the front door for this main property is over here on this side. So now this property here is its own independent unit, 3 bedrooms, 2-bath. It's renting for about 3,400, and it's honestly about to have another rent increase. So I'd say closer to 36 in 2025. The junior ADU, they decided to do midterms, and he wanted to test the market and see what that would look like, considering that it's right across the street from Cal State Long Beach. It was awesome. That unit itself is about 386 square feet, so small studio. And I'll show you pictures right now. That one's renting for about 24 to 2600 consistently. And it's furnished. So when you're doing midterm rental, you got to take that into consideration as well. And that's something I help with. We'll take into account furnishing costs, turnover costs, vacancy, and all that. Then we have the garage. The garage was converted into a 1-bedroom, and the garage is being rented out long term. So the garage is renting out for, I believe, 2,100. And again, that's slightly, this was last year. So I think with the rent increase, you're probably looking at 2,200. So just to do some basic math here and being conservative, 3,500 for the first unit plus 2,500 for the second unit plus 2,200 for the third unit. That is 8,200. 8,200. Both of these units in total was about let's see here. The junior ADU, this one was about 120. And I'd say the other one was about the same. So like so about 280 roughly is what it costs. Now, obviously these prices are going up. So, and the fact that he did 2 was honestly a little bit easier. So we did hook him up with a discount there. But yeah, here's the plan. I thought this was great to showcase. Now let me show you guys the pictures. So here is the garage, which is this one here. And this is, both bathrooms look identical, would kind of follow the same design. This is a junior ADU and this is a garage. So these two are the garage, these two are the junior ADUs, and bathrooms look very similar in both. Finishes and everything very similar, but as you guys can see, very clean, very spacious. Now, this takes me to just more conversations around rentals, because I really want to highlight what the potential rental scenarios are. And you can check out sites like Rent Range, Renometer for proper rents. If you're a realtor, you can check the MLS as well. That helps with data. But here are a few different scenarios that I see people doing. So some people are living in the main house and they're renting out their ADU. On average, this is on average, I'm being super conservative, 1,800 square feet for anything under 500 square feet. The second scenario could be you live in the ADU. That's a big one, especially for boomers. They're wanting to build an ADU so that they can live in it, and then they can rent out the main home, because now the kids are gone. It's just husband and wife, or yeah, they don't need a big space anymore. So they're okay with downsizing and then collecting more rent. So if you were to do that, you definitely save a lot of money and you're able to cash flow even more, because now you can rent out your main home for about 35 to 4,000. And honestly, that's being super conservative, because some cities like Irvine, Yorba Linda, Newport, it's probably close to double this, which is ridiculous for long term, but it is doable. And then the third one, is the more investor friendly strategy is renting out both the main house and the ADU, rinse and repeat that process, and then go buy another property, leverage that, and do the same. I told you guys on multifamily, what I will say is that in multifamily, there's what's called the 25% density rule, meaning you can convert 25% of the existing structure. And now we have another legislation called SB 1211, which really helps you 10x that or 8x that. And I'll explain about how to do that in a separate video. But typically in my presentation, because this is the exact presentation that I do with a client. So now I think I might just send this to anyone who schedules a consultation with me. Part of the reason why I figured I would just put it out here, right? This will give you a great way to start your process and then maybe get on a call with me to ask me questions. I'm going to do a separate video for this. But here is the bread and butter of the presentation. Here's the number one question that everyone has, right? And mind you, these costs do average from location, price, from location, from the type of build, and then obviously if it's custom or not. But if we're just generalizing the ADU and going with basic, stuff, I would say the average cost for a garage conversion is going to be somewhere between 125 to 150,000. And what really determines that is going to be that feasibility report that I showed you guys a few slides back. For ground up construction, you're looking at about 155 for these detached, garages, or for the detached smaller units, 155,000 up to 300K for the bigger units, 1,200 square feet. Sometimes it can be more than that, to be honest. I'd say these prices have gone up a little bit more, but this really helps you just get an estimate for what you should expect when you're getting bids from different contractors. And I would say reach out to 2 or 3 hyperlocal contractors. I work with ADU West Coast, based out of Seal Beach, contractor, full-on design and build. And when you're getting these bids, it's not just with the contractor, right? Part of the team is the architect, the contractor. Maybe you'll need a structural engineer, but you may not, because for these smaller units, you really sometimes don't. Then you want to get 2 to 3 bids and really vet them through other relationships. Go look at their work, go look at their types of finishes, visit their site, their office, like really do a lot of due diligence there. And I'm pretty sure you'll find about the same prices all across the board. If it's anything less, I'd be a little bit skeptical. If it's anything a lot more than this, I'd also be a little bit skeptical. So it has to make sense, right? But you obviously don't want to go with the cheapest either, because I've seen horror stories where they leave you with your job halfway done because they didn't budget correctly. And we're seeing that a lot. I actually did a short podcast episode about a whole bunch of different scams that are happening from different companies who did just that. So make sure you do that. Make sure you reach out to me. Although I work with Cameron at ADU West Coast, I have other companies that you can also connect with and get, estimates from. What to look for with cost. I talked about this during the feasibility report, right? Some of the things that can drive up your costs would be things like having to upgrade your electrical, that sewer connection, the distance, from where the property's at to where the ADU will be, siding versus stucco, condition of the surrounding areas, condition of the garage. Many times you may just have to tear it down because a lot of these garages aren't brand new, right? And that's what's being built. So many times what people do is they kind of tear down the entire garage and just keep up one wall and consider it an actual conversion. Steps with building an ADU. So now that you understand the, the time frame, the cost, the steps is first get on a call with me. Let's go over the finances, because that's going to be really your most important piece, is how are you going to fund this project? Because we know that you can do it. State law says you can do it. And more than likely, the property that you currently have or that you're thinking of buying is going to have the ADU potential. So let's just figure out how you're going to fund that, and then reverse engineer. So if you have, let's say, 250,000 in equity that you can actually use, then now we can build based on that. But we also have to look at a few other things, like, will it rent out and offset your expense, or will you be able to rent it out so that you can actually pay off your HELOC loan and have that make sense as well? Will you be able to make sure that you're able to pay for that, right? If you're not renting it out, there's just a lot of factors that come into play, but I would say financing first, and that's something I can help you with. Once we figure that out, then the next step would be to have someone from my team go out to do a site inspection, which is the one I showed you. Once we get that done, then we can give you an actual proposal. When we do the site inspection, we'll give you the full-on report attached with a proposal, and that's going to really give you the blueprint of how much is it going to cost, to build this. Once we do that, then we start the pre-construction phase, the planning phase. That typically takes like I said, 3 to 5 months. In some cities, longer. I mean, we just had one in Gardena that took about 7 or 8 months to get approved. So yeah, I would say conservatively 6 months. Then once you get plans approved, right, and during those 6 months, then you can start construction. There's different ways, again, to strategize, which is why I say get on a call with me, because many times you'll figure out the financing. But another good play that I've seen is if you have enough money, cash or credit card, to pay for the plans, that actually would save you a lot, because you can pay that money up front. It's going to take you about 6 months to get those plans approved. That gives you a lot of time to figure out how you're going to structure that loan, how you're going to fund it, or when you want to get that HELOC and start paying for the construction, because that's really where the biggest chunk of your money will be spread out, right? And during the construction phase, there's different phases, right? You're paying as you go through each construction, through each phase. So make sure that whoever you work with, you also don't give them half of your money up front. They say it's 150,000 to build it. You don't want to give them most of it. You're giving about 10% to begin the project, and then paying in phases as each phase is completed. So after the construction phase, then we start collecting rent, if that is your goal, right? If you're doing it for rental, I help with long-term rental, help you screen the tenant, place the tenant, and manage it for you if that's something you're interested in, or just help you place the tenant and screen the tenant. If you want midterm rental management services, I also offer that, and that's a whole different ball game, right? It's a different strategy, but very effective as well. Here are some multifamily ADU examples that I wanted to show you guys as well. And I will, in the separate video regarding multifamily ADUs, I'll go in detail on the numbers for this one. But really quick, this was a 12 unit or 14 unit in Long Beach. And what they did was they had garage spaces down here that weren't being used. They were just storage spaces at this point. So what they decided to do was create 2 units. And so this went from, I believe it was 12 or 14 to now 16 or 18 units. And they still had a few other units on the other side that I'll show you guys that they could have converted, but they just want to be mindful of parking and, respect the other tenants. But yeah, these came out great. So now you have 2 additional units. This one was in Long Beach, and I believe the owner was a broker as well. We do have some basic floor plans that I really like to showcase, especially with what I was talking about earlier with some of these pre-approved plans that we already have. It really helps streamline the process. If you're an investor and you're really looking for functionality, effectiveness, I would say consider, looking at the catalog, and I'll share that with you. All right. And then financing options. So I talked about HELOCs a lot because that's like the number one way for people to finance them right now, with interest rates and just leverage and all that. But I've had a few people on my podcast that have done very creative ways. I had Keisha, who does midterm rentals, and she's built a couple ADUs up north. She did a combination of credit cards, 0% down to pay for part of like the first phase, which was a planning, and then use the HELOC during the construction phase. I've had clients also do the cash out refi, not so much right now, but maybe a second loan would be also an option. You also have renovation loans, construction loans. Those are sometimes at a higher rate. So you just have to take that into consideration. Cash, grants, and self-directed IRAs, reverse mortgages are just a few different ways of how people have gone creative to finance these ADUs. And then I do have some YouTube videos, which I'll link down below because I don't want to take too much time. But here's different examples of ADUs that we've done. Here's a 365 one bed, one bath in Lakewood, 625 square foot. This was actually really nice with high ceilings in Lakewood. And then another one in Altadena. So you can check those out. I'm going to go ahead and link them down below. And then again, the management piece of it is one that a lot of people don't really pay attention to because many people focus on the build out, and that can be daunting and stressful and overwhelming. And that takes about 8 to 12 months to happen, right? And then once that's completed, you didn't think about the tenant situation, how to screen a tenant, how to do the proper marketing, how to price it right, how to handle maintenance, which hopefully you don't have to deal with a whole lot, right? Because with these ADU units, they're practically brand new. So you shouldn't have a whole lot of maintenance issues, but eventually down the line you will, right? It's just part of what it is. We all require maintenance. And for my realtors out there, we do offer a referral program. If you have any clients who are interested in having us manage their ADU, we will definitely make sure we take care of you. If you are an investor who needs help with the management, just reach out to me. And even if you've already built your ADU and you're like, you know what, I actually didn't pay attention to the ADU management side of things and I need help with that, you could still reach out to me. So no matter where you're at in your phase, maybe you just got started, maybe you're somewhere in the middle, just reach out to me and I'll see how I can help. And then lastly, I did want to plug in the ADU Play course that I have for real estate professionals. This month of December, I'm actually having 50% off. So if you're interested in that, I will also link it down below. This module or this course has about 10 modules. I'm in the phase right now of revamping it and adding a whole bunch of new information because as you guys can see, it keeps updating. So I have to constantly keep it fresh and new and innovative. So I'm in the process of doing that right now. But what this course does is it really helps real estate professionals and ADU advocates and active investors who are interested in learning more about the play. I showcase how I've been able to handle my marketing, conversations with buyers, sellers, meetups, podcasts, the entire ADU process in depth, right? And I give you a whole bunch of other hacks that I've been able to use. So that's been super helpful. And I really use California as the model and the case study to follow, but you can implement this anywhere, no matter what hyperlocal market you're in or what state you're in. So I hope that this was super helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and we'll see you guys on the next one. Here is a few of my favorite podcast episodes. Make sure you guys check those out as well. And I'll see you next time.